Welcome to the Intentional Athlete Podcast, where strength is more than a number on the bar. I'm your host, Ross Leppalla, powerlifter, coach, and co-creator of the Intentional Athlete Experience. This show is for lifters, movers, and seekers who know that what happens in the gym echoes into your life. We explore how to train with purpose, live with clarity, and channel the pursuit of strength into something deeper, something transformative. Each episode, we'll dive into conversation, tools, and insights that help you align your mindset, body, and spirit. Because real growth doesn't just happen under the barbell. It happens in your mind, in your breath, and in your choices. This is about more than just PRs. This is about presence, power, and progress that lasts. Welcome to the journey, my friend. Welcome to the Intentional Athlete Podcast. Hey, what's up, my friends? Welcome back to the Intentional Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Leppalla. Today, I'm excited to have Zach Morrow join us. Zach Morrow is a lifter that I've been working with one-on-one with in reactive training systems now for quite some time, over a year. And I had the privilege of having Zach come and join us at the Inaugural Intentional Athlete Experience and getting to hear how the event supported him and gave him tools to elevate his training and elevate his life, and hearing how that has played out in real time for somebody who came and participated in that is really cool. I'm really excited for Zach. I'm really excited for how the seminar and the workshop supported him, his athletic pursuits, his powerlifting pursuits, his relationship, all kinds of really cool ways in which that elevated his experience with life. And that's really what this is about. When we train with that intentionality, it ought to elevate every aspect of our lives. And that's why we're here. I want to share that with you, and I really look forward to sharing Zach's story with you all. So without further ado, Zach, y'all. Zach, my friend, how you doing today?
Good, Ross. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Excited to dive into this conversation with you.
Yeah, me too. It's been a journey since I went down there in May.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to get into those details about how the intentional athlete experience has supported your training and life and things of that nature. But before we start getting into the weeds, maybe not everybody knows who Zach is. So maybe just a little introduction of who you are, where you live in the world, and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet that probably none of your listeners know who I am. My name's Zach Morrow. I compete in powerlifting in Canada as part of the CPU IPF. Been First competition I did was 2016, so coming on 9 years. Been on and off before that, but I started training with RTS and Ross last April, April 2024. So that journey's gone well. I've done two competitions since, and I'm gearing up for my third one now in October. So I live, like I said, in Canada, Calgary, just south of Calgary, Alberta. So moved here last year, and it's been a nice change. And I had the privilege of attending the Intentional Athlete, like I said, back in May, with Ross and a few others. And like in preparation for my meet, and looking to kind of take powerlifting more seriously. I've get back into more competitions. I have two kids now, and it's always nice seeing them in the gym with me, and I'd like to keep learning and pass on that knowledge to my kids. And so yeah, it's been a pleasure working with Ross. So essentially, just your average power lifter.
Yeah. So what would you characterize your experience with training and what it was like prior to signing up and working with me specifically?
Very sporadic. Um, I would have like ADHD when it came to training programs, and I would constantly change it
Hmm.
and never give myself a chance to know if something works or not. So I experimented with I would jump from like 5-3-1 to conjugate and just reading some Louis Simmons books. But I would have like no knowledge about what extra, because Louis Simmons and conjugate's very much about like exercise selection. You really have to narrow down what works, because you're varying it literally every week.
Yeah.
And so I would just what do I feel like doing today? I'll max out this, and I would have no data for how beneficial that exercise is. So I the lot right before I decided I needed a coach and I picked XCS was I did a meet and I did no comp squat, no comp bench, no comp deadlift in like the 8 weeks going into that meet.
Whoa.
And it would just be like, yeah, today I'm gonna max out my good mornings, or today I'm just gonna throw reverse bands on it and see how I can go on the squat. And I had some fun, but I had no, like I said, no data, no proper prep. I definitely was not peaked. And I was literally leaving the next day for my wedding in Costa Rica. So everything was so all over the place between like life stresses and training that it's just sporadic. So I kept trying to do different things. And prior to that, I was competitive in dragon boat as well. So the rowing with the 10 guys on each side, and so I would try and train for both. So I never really had a solid plan in place. I had a couple one on and off coaches, like that weren't really coaches. Like one guy was like a strongman competitor, right? So not really powerlifting. And so I just kind of was all over the place. And my wife and I watched a video of it was Mike Teixeira talking about Brooklyn Barbell Club, I believe, South
Yeah, the
Brooklyn
South
Barbell.
Brooklyn Barbell Seminar in
Yeah,
2017.
yeah, that was it. We watched that entire video on YouTube, and I was when I was trying to pick a coach, I had like a few options that I would say. I told my wife, I said, "Well, I got this one. What do you think?" No, RTS. Oh, what about this? No, RTS. Like she just knew, and so it just worked. And so now I have like a serious total. I understand the benefit of like training with an RPE. I understand the why we're doing like by ones at eights and like comp specific movements, and it just makes way more sense now than it ever has. So um and then the progress shows for it, right? I put on we're coming up to 100 kilograms on my total, and it's crazy what the difference makes. And I think in addition to just a proper training block, training with intention and what we picked up at the intentional athlete is makes a huge difference. And I just over the moon about powerlifting for the first time and since I basically started. So I'm looking forward to keep working with you and obviously and keep learning new skills through the TIA.
Yeah, man. So it's interesting that the from a programming perspective, one of the things that I hear in the way you're talking that has allowed you to have the progress that you've had so far in our efforts together has been there's more intentionality behind the training and the application of the training and the cultivation of the stimulus. It's not just sporadic changes that are done without a understanding of why that change is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's neat. What about as we start to think about like training with intention? Obviously, we want to do that with respect to the stimulus, but there's so much more to it. There's so much more to deliberately making choices and load selections and what we're doing with our mindset as we go through the training process. What has your training been like since the intentional athlete experience?
Yeah, it's I've tried to implement some changes that seem to be working, and some of them are so basic, but it makes a big difference, and it's all related. So one thing that you walked us through, and I remember to this day, at the intentional, I say to this day, but it's been like a few months, but I remember very clearly
Yeah.
is you right before we did the training in your garage we were in the other house and you said here's what I do for a meditation to go into a by one a day. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I picked up there is right as you were like coming to the end of that guided meditation, it would be like you would increase the speed of your breath. So it'd be like
Yep.
and I just like the most basic thing, and it's I wouldn't say it's basic, but like the breathing is something that's so important to me. And I look at whether I go into my by one at eight bench, my by one at eight squat, but even not even the by ones at eight, even my like top sets for the SDE work, I have noticed that makes a big difference. And even if I just take 15 seconds to not hyperventilate, but like get that intentional breathing, visualize what that lift is going to be like, get a good breath, get under the bar, unrack it. It just goes a long way. So the visualization and the meditations are really cool. And some people, before, I thought of meditation as like this like 15-20 minute thing where you got to open an app and like play a thing and just sit through it. And I found that so difficult to do because I don't sit still well. I just don't. And it was like, yeah, come back to your breath. And I was like, well, I've been away from my breath for like 5 minutes. So how am I supposed to get myself back to this? But what's awesome about this is like that guided meditation I put into practice where I'm moving and doing it. And I find that
Mm.
having my body moving, like standing it up, just feeling what the bar feels like, right? Like going into a squat. Deadlift, I do it as I'm like standing and approaching because I get down and pull right away. I don't spend time down there. But when I squat, I can hold the bar, get in like, even if it's 15 seconds. And then I can just that breathing helps me visualize that lift like 10 seconds before I do it. And that goes a long way. So I found that to be really cool. I keep doing that every session I do. Like I said, for both my comp work by ones at eights and the SDE stuff. And then I've started to do more of the journaling. I still struggle with that because I'm like, you know what? I have limited training time today, so I don't have time to write stuff. But um, one thing that's super useful, and I've seen my wife do it, is we've started to talk about like, you know what? When we wake up in the morning, the slow mornings are huge. And to go right to the phone was a bad habit. I always do, and I'm still guilty of it. It's like, who knows what's going to come up overnight, right? So you go right to the phone. But my wife is now so good at it, and I'm trying to learn from her too, because she'll come down and she'll have some breakfast and just journal, right? She won't touch a device and nothing. And it's just like I don't have to do it during training. So I'm trying to implement that, being able to at least write a little bit how I feel in the morning, or if I usually train in the morning, so like right before I go in, how does my body feel? And then the more you learn about yourself, like I just spoke to you about my back kind of was rowing for 9 hours and my back was bothering me, so
Yeah.
I I've been able to kind of notice that whenever I write down a little bit about how that feels, and it's like, okay, I know today, I mean, it's in my head, I know today I gotta brace a little tighter. I gotta set up like this. I gotta make sure I'm getting my breathing in, even if it just throw some dead bugs in. One thing Vanessa walked us through too was that spinal hygiene stuff.
Yeah.
I believe it's those seven exercises that is a spinal hygiene routine from Dr. Tommy John, and that is that's been super helpful. I've been able to notice, like, as I said, I recently also changed my bench technique, the same bench technique I've been using forever, bringing my feet in a little bit, just because I've noticed that I come on the sides of my feet if my stance is too wide. So I come in a little bit, get more leg drive. So I've been able to feel my body and like my form in ways that I don't think I could have picked up on before. And I mean, like, it's just it's the intentional athlete's not just about like, you know oh yeah, here we're gonna learn all this and max our squats and everything like that. It's the stuff you do in preparation for your training days,
Yeah.
and the stuff that you pick up and if your takeaways before the next cycle. So I would say some of the main changes have been just like those small, and anyone can do it, like those small things like with your breathing that I'm implementing before my top sets. um like I said, I'm guilty of not being good at the journaling, but I'm trying to get there. And it does help. Yeah, so it's I definitely feel that there's been a good positive change in that, and it's also something like a takeaways that I can, as I get better, help my wife and kids implement them too. My kids are still really young, but
Right.
it's they see me, do my training. They're my daughter especially is always in the gym with me, so
Yeah.
she's picking up on things. And if I'm sitting there on if I'm supposed to be training and I'm just dead scrolling on Instagram or something, like, where's the intention there? So it's positive habits that I'm trying to remember for my kids too.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. One of the things that really stands out to me in all of that you shared there to highlight, I think for yourself and for anybody listening, you come to the seminar and you learn these tools, specifically referring to the meditation, and you go and you start to apply it in your training, but you're doing it differently than what I did it with you in the seminar. And I think
Yes.
the really important thing with stuff like that is that, like, that's part of being intentional. It's learning a tool and then learning how to adjust that tool to meet your needs that may be different than my needs. Meditation doesn't have to be on a mountaintop sitting with your legs crossed and your hands in your circles on a lap or something like that. It can be done a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving meditations. So the fact that you introduced movement into it is really beneficial because, again, it's all about what do I need to do? How do I need to adjust and adopt this tool to support me and my needs? And you're different than I am, and then will somebody
Yep.
else. And so it ought to look different. And that's a huge part of it. I'm excited to share with you that our second round of the Intentional Athlete Experience opens for enrollment August 15th, 2025. Enrollment is only open until October 10th, 2025, and we're taking 8 people. Only 8. Why? Because this group size allows us to go to a depth that a large group simply cannot go. We need to get layers deep to learn extremely important tools for intentional training. We don't want to stay on the surface level. We want to get to the depth. We want to get to the core of why we train and more. Use code TIA10 to get 10% off before September 12th. Join us and let's up-level your training.
Yeah, I agree. And it specifically to the meditation, we did that. Like I said, we were lying down in the other house, and then we went into the training. And I picked up some good cues there, but I implemented a little differently, and I do it in motion. And it's funny how things work out because right after the intentional athlete, when I was on the plane back home, I finished a book called Breathe by Rickson Gracie, the jiu-jitsu fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And he had one when he was learning how to he wanted to balance out all his pillars, right, his like body, his mind, his soul.
Yeah.
So when he was trying to get his mind, he was a great fighter, but he was trying to get his mind intact. He talked about going to a guy, the name's escaping me, but he was learning how to do meditation. And it's that's how I picked up the moving thing, because he had mentioned that once he started to move, had his eyes closed, focus on his breathing, and just move around while doing the meditation, it made all the difference for him. And he
Mm.
had a story about how when his coach, who was teaching him this, had to leave the building to take a phone call, and he came back, and Rickson was just moving around, flowing into the room, flowing onto different things. His mind was lost. He was in meditation, and when he came out of it, the coach was had a tear in his eye, and he goes, Rickson asked him why he's crying, and then he said, "I can't coach you anymore. I have nothing left to teach you." So Rickson was like, "Why?" He's like, "I just watched you in your mind flowing through this room for an hour straight," and I was like, "There's something to that." So, like I said, as I'm like, I start to do it as a, put the belt on. approach the bar, hold the bar, get like my shoulders in place, and it just it works for me. So if anyone is like listening and having trouble with it, it's meditation. I think has sometimes a bad name because people do think it's like yes, monks with their legs crossed and their hands like this on top
Yeah.
of a or something, right? And
Right.
it's like, well, that's not. I can't do all that. Well, no, you can't, but you can do your own version of it.
Yeah. I like a lot of the work from the Ruiz family, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. and Don Jose Ruiz. They do a lot of Toltec teaching, Toltec wisdom teaching. Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the Four Agreements. A lot of really good material from them. And I remember taking a personal development course from them at one point, and Don Jose talked about like how we ought to be able to meditate while we're at the grocery store, just walking around collecting our different things and being in a state of meditation is to drop into being present in that we're there with the banana or the apple picking it out, and we're not picking out a banana thinking about what we're going to do at work later. So that's a big
Exactly.
point of training is we want to use that state of meditation to bring us into the session, and we're not thinking about the to-do list. We're not thinking about working our anger out because the person cut you off on the way to the gym. Like you're able to let go of all the outside noise and just be present with your training. And that's important because when you're present with your training, your decision making process is going to be a lot more cleaner.
Hmm. It
And
is. You're not thinking two steps ahead. You're not thinking two exercises ahead. You're not thinking what you got to do after the training. I think we bonded a little bit about the snowboarding when I was down there because that's one of the activities that I have done where you're on the mountain and you're about to hit a jump or you're just blasting down the hill. Like it's just I don't even try when it comes to that sport. It just happens.
yeah,
You have to be present, right?
yep, yep. It's like everything just shuts off and it's a thing of beauty. And it, like when you realize that you can do that when you snowboard, well, then you can do that when you're training. What
Yeah,
about
exactly.
maybe a good way to frame this up is like, how is your decision making process in training benefited from doing that and bringing that to the table?
Yeah, that's a good question because oftentimes when you're transitioning from a very sporadic, especially conjugate, you're going from something like that to training where our top weights are always a by one at eight. Well, not always, mostly.
Right.
Um, and you're it's crazy, like because all I wanted to do before was max out. I'll just pick anything for variation and just max out, max out. It was very Jim Bro esque, and that is that's what I thought was fun. And then going to this, the decision making is so important because if you overshoot and you like you've seen my charts, you coach me all the time, and obviously you see every week when I have like my the E1RM charts, right? And in general we're on like a do mountain kind of with a slow descent, and then we're picking it up halfway through the last block and stuff, and then that's all decision making. That would not the charts would look way uglier if it wasn't for that. And especially if like right now if I have like a little bit of a how do you say it? Like a twitch, a niggle, or an injury. I don't want to say an injury. I hate that word, but
Right. Yeah.
something that is like something that's off in the body, and um, that's when it becomes so crucial to make the right decisions. And when I'm going into this, I've come to the I guess attitude and the approach that the load is not number one in your training. It's always like you're trying to hit that RPE. And I've seen like my deadlift, for example, I've seen hit over the block. We'll see. I'm like 6 weeks to peak. And we've typically seen, I'll go about three, and then I'll have like a stagnant week four. And then I have two more jumps weeks five and six. And that's something that you you're not going to be able to know if you're always just throwing as much weight as you can on the bar. So it's a pattern that so we've learned a pattern. We've learned my time to peak, and we've learned for each lift kind of in general.
Hmm.
Some weeks have more of a stagnant week and is generally in the middle of the block, but then we know that it improves. So I know from like a confidence standpoint, the confidence around heavy lifts has improved the most, I find, and that's related to my decision making. So one of the things when I signed up with you, I specifically said was an issue was, I could hit a 95% single and then I get to 100% and it moves fast and I get to 100% and it sucks because I'm not confident or sure of myself on those heavy weights.
Yeah.
And seeing these positive trends and learning what how my body responds after like a set period of time, and say like, what, my back's feeling a little bit off today. It's not a big deal if we go lighter, but instead of a buy one at 8, I do a buy one at 7, and it's not like my E1RM is gonna tank. I mean, if the RPE is lower and the weight's lower, it's still gonna
Yeah.
compute a similar number. So, trying to not be so fixated on the load, and I think one of the things we talked about was not being attached to an outcome. An
Yeah.
outcome. Attachment to an outcome is the definition of suffering, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That's
and yeah, and so and I tell myself that time and time again, but not just in training, but in my work and everything too. And so I can't be so fixated on loads, and I've gotten myself to the point where I understand that. Like, sure, I still get frustrated, I still get mad when a weight doesn't move as fast as I can, and I'm trying my best to navigate that and have a better approach and attitude towards the bad training days. But like they happen for a reason, or like a meet that doesn't go well, if anything, that gives you more information than a good session because now you have takeaways. You kind of know how you felt, and you know what you got to do, and it gives you the chance to work through it while not being so down on yourself. And being down on yourself, being having bad confidence was an issue that I've had forever. So
right.
yeah, I guess the long-winded answer is I'm more comfortable with load choices. My decision making is on my top set has gotten a lot better because I understand more about what my body needs and what my body can handle that day, and I'm working to get to a point where I'm not upset about it. If
Yeah.
the my body can do what my body can do on that day, and that's it.
Right. So it sounds to me as well that backing up for a second, on a long enough time scale, when you're training, it's inevitable that you're going to have some shitty sessions here and there. There's no way around that. If there's a way around that, and you know a way around that, if anybody listening, come talk to me. I want to know what that is, and I'll tell you how wrong you are, because I just don't believe that it's possible to avoid down sessions. That doesn't mean they're bad days, because we can still learn from them. But that's the thing that I hear is that you're better able to one foresee the need to down regulate the load, and you're able to make those choices rather than egotistically forcing something that's not there, making it a
Hmm.
really bad session. And it sounds like you're better able to process that down session and not take it personally and not be butthurt about it.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think so. For me, especially like you said, down regulating is important, and I've gotten to the point where I try and keep my warm ups the same, so that I know on that last warm up, it's like, okay, do I have this target weight
Yeah.
or not? And from there, it's an easy decision. Do I go about and just put on what I want because I feel like it and screw it up and make it worse, or do I just accept it listen to it and downregulate the load and just move it as fast as I can
Yeah.
and get as good of a session I can out of it. And one thing I've said is going through this, like, with a little bit of a back pain the last couple weeks. Um, Also taking that into account for making these decisions and really knowing it's like, what, if I'm gonna move this weight, I gotta make sure I'm braced, get as much air as I can in the diaphragm, and then practice before doing the set, practice what my bracing is gonna feel like. And
Yeah.
as I'm approaching the bar, I'll probably brace the last couple weeks, I'll probably brace two, maybe three times, as in I'm about to pull it. And then when I finally go and do it, I know exactly what I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. That's really good and really important. One of the other things that you said several minutes ago that I wanted to touch on, you mentioned using some of the breath work that Vanessa brought to the table and teaches. So being vulnerable for a moment, like that was kind of one of the exciting yet scary parts. Vanessa and I had been wanting to collaborate on something together for a long time, and so it was really neat to finally have this come to a vision and see how we could bring our gifts together in collaboration and how to deliver it in terms of like putting the intentional athlete experience together. And I was nervous about how people were going to receive the breath work because I, like there can be kind of this little bit of this it's kind of like meditation, I think, a lot of times, for particularly for the meathead crowd. And it seems like foo-foo stuff that people want to avoid, but it's really fucking powerful and it's really important, especially when you learn how to use it and use it well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool to hear you putting that into practice and being able to use that breath and use that breath work in your training, because at the end of the day, when you have that breath, it can be used in a lot of different ways when you know how to use it and you learn the techniques from somebody like Vanessa that is a really excellent facilitator. You can use breath to calm you down if you need to calm down. You can use breath to energize you. In this particular case, like you're using the breath to energize you. And if you can use that breath to energize you, that's going to be energy you can put into the lift to express your strength at a higher level. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really cool to hear that you're having a positive return and experience with that breath work.
Yeah, it's it's really cool because exactly what you said. You can use it in so many different ways. I'll use it if I'm like driving home in a truck and I park, and right before I go in and to de I guess desensitize or get myself out of like the work mode and
Yeah.
the stress from work that day. I'll use the breath to calm down. But on the opposite end, you can use it for exactly energizing yourself, going into those lifts, and you can get a lot of good energy out of it, and also it's so important for bracing too. Just even technique issues, right? I prefer it over ammonia caps. The
Yeah.
breath work is awesome. I've noticed I'm better when I'm actively calmer and not running out screaming. So
Yeah. I
it
agree.
yeah, it helps. It helps a lot. And yeah, Vanessa did a great job going through that. And it is scary. Like, I didn't know how I would respond to it either. I remember that SRI session very clearly, going through those, and was it 8 steps? Um, and by the end of it, you're like, just through the breathing work that you're doing, like, past trauma comes to life too. It can help you deal with some it's scary to do, but it helps you deal with some scary stuff that you're keeping inside. So it's um it's a great tool, and that's one of the biggest takeaways from that event. And I think a lot of people can benefit from learning how to just simply breathe properly.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking what came up for you that was difficult to work through?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had like that feeling of shame is something that really, really gets to me, and I've had it forever. And whether it's like sporting events or like performance reviews at work or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very down on myself a lot. I always think that I'm not doing good enough. I mean, I think I gave this example at the intentional athlete, but I remember one day in particular where I was getting a performance review done, but I had to be on the road somewhere, and
Mm-hmm.
my wife was in the car, so we were driving, and so she heard everything. And afterwards, she's like, there was about 20 positive things my manager had said, and one thing to work on, and I was completely fixated on that one thing to work on. And that like that's not good. I mean, it really it causes a lot of anxiety, and it makes you always feel inadequate and like you're not good enough. And it stems from a family background. I mean, was never I don't believe I had a situation where I was told, you know what, you're doing good. It was always something where, I could always do better. So it came up a lot of like my relationship with my family came up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was really it's hard to deal with. I mean, my dad left our family when I was young. He ended up passing away when I was young, and I try to remember some positive memories, but it comes back all sorts of stories. Like I still remember a day he left us at a bar when we were kids, right? And that stuff, it hurts. And so you start to think about that. You start to think about, uh, he didn't really he wasn't there for all of my big events. It was never we never got that, I would say, positive feedback. Never got really any constructive criticism, and it was always like, you could do a little bit better than that. You could do a little bit better than that. So a lot of it for me was just like receiving validation and stuff like that. I feel like sometimes I crave it, and if I don't feel like I don't feel like people are grateful, I think about that, and I was like, you know what? But I did all this, and this, and then it becomes about me and maybe not what that other person needs, and so it affects relationships and stuff like that. So for me, it was yeah, past trauma around family, around just feeling inadequate, feeling like I'm not good enough. I had said parents never really attended any of my never seen me in a powerlifting competition, but also sports I did before that. So it's it's hard because it's like, well, no one really cares, so what's the point of doing this, right? And then it becomes you're seeking external validation. And when you start to seek external validation for the stuff you do, that's when you start to have that negative attachment to an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you start to say, like, well, I'm only gonna post this on social media because I want the likes, and oh, don't people like it? Then I'm not gonna post anymore, or whatever. Like you start to really dig yourself a hole, and it's so hard to get out of. So for me, it helped me, and as we did those breathing exercises, she would have some commentary about, like, you know what, I am good enough, I am ready, I am fucking ready. So it's like you start to say that, and then you start to use that breath as a tool uh, to literally have the confidence to say those things out loud in a room
Mm-hmm.
full of people. Because it's not like I was the only one there, right?
Right.
So everyone heard everybody, and it was awesome to see everybody just communicate and let it out. And I think everyone fed off each other's energy
Mm-hmm.
in that, and so we all got the confidence, and then everyone in that room thought we were all good enough and gave constant support, and it was such a cool experience, and I've never experienced anything like that before. I've been to therapy sessions, I've done meditations prior on my own,
Yeah.
and it doesn't compare. It just doesn't. So that was really cool. And I if focusing on your breathing and some of those positive cues can do that, And I'll tell you, when I finished that session, just through the breathing and like trying to well, we were trying to like your body just wanted to like come go down to the floor, right?
Hmm.
And so just experiencing that after that was done and the processing involved in that, I was definitely more out of it and exhausted than any training session. So what does that tell you? Like it's so powerful, and everyone's got shit they need to bring to surface. Um, so yeah, it was very very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Before I ask the next question on this, I want to give a little bit of an answer to people in that the reason why these things are important in the intentional athlete and in a training environment is because these are the limitations. Those experiences shaped your beliefs that you weren't good enough. That's the limitation because what you believe will become the highest capacity of your life expression, whatever it is. Your belief is your ceiling. You will never do anything in any area of your life, whether it's lifting or relationship wise, you will never do anything beyond your belief. So, this stuff is your limitation. It is your limiting factor. And through processing that and through integrating that and working through that shit, you change your belief, you raise your ceiling. So, how has working through that session changed your ceiling and changed your capacity and your expression after the seminar?
Yeah, I still struggle with it. I still, even on, bad days and or a bad meet or something, I'll still that feeling wants to come to life. It wants to like drag me down. But one of the things that I have that I'm trying to do is and you one thing you said as well when you were there. Sometimes, and you talked about how you your some of your interactions with Vanessa before, and how it would you had mentioned how you felt like there was a time where you were just doing everything. You would work and you would come home and you'd have to cook and everything like that, and it would get to you, right? And sometimes it's very hard to just like it's to shut it to not shut down. And even in my like conversations with my wife, sometimes I'll get irritated, but I don't want to get into like an argument about it. So I will shut down. And that's the worst thing. And so I've getting to the point where trying to catch myself and be like, okay, just take a moment. And before I would probably need like an and I would just have to go. And I would have to do my thing, and I just couldn't. I would shut down, and I would think everyone's out to get me, and it's all my fault. And blah, blah, blah. Now I can like step back, feel like I'm able to take a moment, and it's so much quicker. I'm able to kind of realize, okay, you know what? This is why this argument's starting. This is why, I can't just say it's all my fault and then get defensive about it. So I'm able to kind of take less time to process it and understand where the other person's coming from. So I do find that I'm able to process things a little faster. Like I said, it's a working progress, and there's still a lot I gotta do. And through these meditations, that's when I gotta, do things like forgive my family, understand that like they are people, understand that they have dealt with their own trauma too, and people who like cut you off in traffic, people at work who are frustrating, like they all are not doing it because they hate you or something. They have their own insecurities, their own trauma that they're dealing with too, and I'm getting to understand that. And it just one of the other things too. One of the things I can remember is back when I was a kid, um, and my parents split up. I remember my mom taking me and my younger brother, to a therapy session, but the entire time during that therapy, everything the therapist would ask, uh, my mom would redirect those questions to us, and he'd be asking her these questions, but she would say, "Oh, well, how do you two feel about that? What do you guys think?" And how are we supposed to interpret that at the time? And then at the time, it's like, well, this must their divorce must be our fault, right?
Hmm.
Maybe we did something, so that's why these questions are coming at us. So it's so easy to feel like something's your fault, and that's a really hard feeling. So you get so defensive about it. And I've come to realize that before I'd be like, "Oh, I can't believe she did that. No, no, that's so ridiculous." But now it's like, you know what? She probably felt so bad in that moment, and so that was probably so hard for her, and she didn't have an outlet or didn't have these tools that I have just learned through you uh, to process that or to know what to do with that. So it's not her fault either, and I'm able to like through that you're able to forgive, you're able to move on from situations faster. Um, and I just the other thing was I just had a that meet in June, which was provincials in Alberta, and I mean it wasn't the result I was hoping for, but through a bad meet, still had a bit of a meet PR, but it still wasn't the result I was hoping for based on how good training was going. And I'd have times in the past with bad meets where it'd be like days, and I'd be miserable about it. But I was able to see it's like what why does it matter? Like we still put out a meat PR. I have like three different things right off the bat that are easy to implement that I can improve on. A couple with some like rookie mistakes, like I didn't even put my deadlift socks on and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
but a few a few things were related to okay, I have anxiety around making weight and I just didn't check my weight at all because I thought I was fine. And then the day before, realized that I was a little high, and so I didn't eat anything at all. And then it ended up affecting my performance, and that was not the smartest thing of me to do. But at the same time, it's like that anxiety around the weight thing is that's a challenge for me, and I struggle with that, and I don't never want to cut, but it just it's such a simple thing to look at and say next time just got to look at it a little bit don't be hard on yourself, don't starve yourself, don't be mad at your body for being above weight, and that's what I would do in the past. So I would say I'm able to see things more clearly for other people's perspectives, um, be a little bit more understanding and know when I need to take that moment in like a hard situation or an
Hmm.
argument or a fight and be able to settle it down because at the end of the day it's so much easier to resolve arguments or issues if you can see it from the other person's perspective and you guys can just and you get and all it takes sometimes fights you feel like they're 2 hours long, but really an hour and 50 minutes of that is just stubbornness and defensiveness and just shutting down. And it's like, huh, well, I just got an hour and 55 minutes back in my day. Because and now we have more time to spend with our kids. Now we have more time to have fun because I'm not being stupid about it and just completely shutting down. I still do it and that's a really hard thing for me. Because shutting down is a way. It's like that's like me being like a turtle, and that's my shell, right? That's how
Hmm.
I protect myself.
Yeah.
Because if I open myself up to vulnerability, I start to think that I'm just gonna be looked at as this bad person. So
Yeah.
if I shut down and I don't say anything about it, then nothing that can come at me. But it's totally the opposite, and
Yeah.
that it makes things so much worse. So that's an awesome thing, and that's why this seminar was so beneficial from way more than just a training standpoint, right? From a family, and I said this when I was there too. Like, I think I have tools to make me a better coworker, husband, and father, in addition to a lifter.
Right. So what you're saying is the tools and things and ideas that we've discussed and worked on, you're finding them beneficial applied to your day-to-day life with your
Like,
kids, with your spouse, with your coworkers.
yeah, like, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Fantastic. Cuz that's the whole point. It ought to be the things that we do to elevate our training ought to elevate our life in totality. It's not I've said it before in a lot of other areas. We are people first and athletes second. If you take care of the person will take care of the athlete. And that's what this intersection is doing those things that care for the person, care for the lifter, elevates everything in totality. And if you compartmentalize it and try to separate the two, that will be a source of limitation. It will limit your life. It will limit your lifting. No, there is no
Yeah.
other way around it.
Well, it does, because how can you have a good training session if your mind is occupied by, obviously, when you get married, you love your wife, right? And the person you love the most, how can you have a strong session? You can't separate the two, because if you can't have a good session if in the back of your mind you know that when you're done, you're gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And you can and you just had a terrible session, you just had a terrible fight or something like that. So then you start to think, well, now I'm gonna have to deal with that. But also you're prepping for your sets and you're thinking of like things you should have done differently, ways you're gonna resolve it after. And it absolutely goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Any struggle you're having with life is just in the back of your mind, and it's hard to train when that's what you're thinking about and not your training itself. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like one of the things that to think about here too is the meditation and the training. That is to drop into and be present with the training, so we can make good choices based on the information in that very specific moment. How your body's feeling, how the load's feeling, how your management of center of gravity is operating, so you can make good choices. And you're being present with the training, not thinking about externals. When we bring that quality and ability to our relationship with our spouse or significant other, whoever it is, the most important quality of a like fruitful and bountiful relationship is the connection, the quality of the connection. How do we increase the quality of the connection? Being present.
mhm.
We get so much more out of the relationship with anybody if we're present with the conversation versus distracted, whatever
Yeah,
the distraction may be. But if we're trying to have a conversation with our significant other and we're thinking about work, we're not going to be present with them.
yeah.
Guess what?
Wow.
That's going to make an
Yeah,
argument.
absolutely, it will, right? I come home and I, the work. I still got the work phone, right? Someone's trying to get a hold of me, but it's after work hours. It's not mandatory, but it's you're geared to like answer that. And all my wife wants to do is hang out and talk to me. If I'm gonna ignore that, like that's not a good example for my kids either, right? Because I didn't have a I didn't have a good example when I was a kid of what a loving relationship looks like. And I've had to adapt and I've had to learn that. And I'm grateful, thank God, for my wife every day because she's been so patient and she understands that. But she also did not see what a loving relationship looks like as a kid because she didn't come from a good family background, and her parents split up and everything too. And so she's been very patient through that, and that person's there to work with you on it, not be against you. So
Yeah.
the more, yeah, that fruitful connection and then communication. Like I said, I had therapy sessions before, and I was able to figure it out a lot. I don't know if easier is the word, but I was able to process more through the 3 days I had there than I have with like multiple weekly sessions, right? In the
Wow.
past.
Yeah.
So it is it's cool to see. I will say one of the things that probably helps with that too is the fact that the way you organized it, where we started the first day around the fire talking about cultivating the why,
Mm-hmm.
it gives everyone a chance to like talk, get into it, get into why they lift, get into why they're doing it, like really bring out the whys behind their lifting and their training and their life really.
Yeah.
Um, and hearing everyone be vulnerable off the bat led to everyone else being able to continue that vulnerability, but do so more so with the more, I would say, advanced or like personal exercises.
Yeah, for sure. No, I was definitely really pleased with the way some of that stuff went as well, because we had some different ideas and we adjusted along the way. What happened and transpired in terms of schedule and sequence of events with you all wasn't the initial vision, and so it was really cool to hear that our adjustments on the fly really ended up being like the right thing to do. So I was really excited about that. What would
Yeah.
be
You know what on the fly adjustments are? They're you being present.
There you go. There you go. Definitely. And that's definitely that was a big part of credit goes to Vanessa on that one too, because we had to move her part. There was a part of her work that we had to move around, and sometimes it can be difficult when you're excited to bring your gift to the table and serve people and be in that mindset and be prepared and ready, and now all of a sudden, like, oh hey, hold on, stop, you gotta move it over there. And so it was actually her idea to move part of her work that really facilitated a lot of that, so it's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So what was your favorite part about the event? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's tough. So I liked the like three things that I go back to are the so cultivating the why, the guided meditation before the training, and then the SRI session. And I think it's hard to decide between those three, but I got a good amount out of each one because, like I said, the cultivating the why started out the session, and I got to share a couple things about why I'm in lifting and what keeps me going,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I thought was really important, and a reminder to myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then the guided meditation before the training was great because it stuck with me, and as I explained, like I will take that 15 seconds before literally every single by one at eight
Yeah.
and just do a very mini meditation. And it helped me learn that meditations aren't supposed to be this like really long drawn out thing sitting on a mountain. It is it can be as short as 10-15 seconds, and you just get everything out and do it how you need to do. So it taught me that there's ways around meditation that aren't like just the typical um description of it. And then the SRI session, like I said, helped me do some more processing than I've done. But the SRI is cool because like you're changing the positions of your hands, right? You're changing the positions of where your hands are and where you feel the breath more. So you kind of moving with it too, and that motion, as I
Mhm.
said, for me helps. So that helped with the processing. So all three of those things kind of are aligned. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that they're one particular thing because it's all kind of related. So I like those three things, and then I very much enjoyed the eating.
Yeah.
You made some good food for your garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, man. It was definitely a really good time. We enjoyed it. I'm really glad to hear as well that the meditation landed so well with you. The guided meditation landed so well with you because, like, I personally meditate a lot of different ways. I have several different meditations that I do on a regular basis, some of which are long format and will
Yeah,
last anywhere between 10 to 40 minutes sometimes. It just kind of depends on how dropped
yeah,
in I'm able to get. Um,
yeah,
some of them are training related, some of them are not training related. But I completely honest, I was nervous as all fucking get out to do that guided meditation because I've never led a guided meditation before. I've meditated a shit ton, but I've never led a guided meditation before. So I was like, honestly, just really nervous about that part and was like really unsure of what to do. And I meditated on it and how do I figure out how to do this meditation? How do I guide this so that it's
Yeah.
received and is done in a way that allows the
Yeah.
participants to connect with it enough so that they can see the utility in it and the ability to adjust it to meet them where they're at and take it and use it. So I'm really excited to hear that that has hit the nail on the head for you in such ways.
Oh, that was awesome. And then we went right into training after, right? So I was trying to think about it, and I was just on pivot week that week, right? So it's that pivot week's probably the one time I don't do that, but maybe I should, just to see if it makes much of a difference. But I'm not trying to obviously push as much on the pivots as I am in my ones at eights. But like, you wouldn't be able to know that that was your first time doing a guided meditation because you did it. First of all, you did a really good job, but also like you just said it's there's certain things in that I remember. I don't remember everything you said, no way. But I do remember certain parts of it, and those certain parts are what I use, what I feel like I need. And I remember it very clearly as you were ramping up and like you talking about feeling the bar and talking about doing it. And when you started to speed up the breathing, I always thought of meditation as like a really slow breath, like and it's like, well, that doesn't get me energized. But you started to speed it up. I'm like, I didn't realize you could do a meditation that way. So the really fast paced breathing towards the end of that, when you were going through your by one at eight, was very, very beneficial for me at least. Other people might think differently, but I was able to take certain things out of that and make it my own.
Yeah.
And I think that is what most people, what everyone should realize when it comes to like meditations and training with intentions is that no one's gonna, just like training, no two training blocks should be alike, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna be an elite athlete from the cookie cutter programs on Google. You gotta be individualized. So just like the training itself has to be individualized, why wouldn't your preparation or your like meditations be as well, right?
Yeah.
Like the training tools should also be personalized. And I I'm practicing on it. I'm still fine tuning it. It's a work in progress, just like training is.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the point where I am, and I think it's not coincidental that shortly after that, it was my squat especially that just blew up
Yeah.
and and that's I've hit numbers that I didn't think I would hit like this year at all, and I've already done. So those squat numbers blew up, and that's because I think I found the most effective meditation going into the squat. With the bench is hard because I find it harder because I'm lying down. You lie
Hmm.
down when you do the lift, and it's harder to move, right? And the deadlift, I kind of walk up and I pull, so I don't have as much of a setup. But on the squat, especially, like when you start to feel the bar, and I do that meditation, I get that in, I unrack the bar, and weights that were above my PRs, I'm unracking it, and I do my rep, and I was like, that feels so light on my back,
Yeah.
and from that, literally, I haven't changed a thing with my squat technique, not a thing. Like
Yeah.
when it comes to technique or like the physical part of it, I haven't put a bunch of mass on my glutes or my quads or anything.
Right.
That's the only thing I've implemented
Yeah.
differently.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and that's fantastic. The other thing to point out there is you're finding that meditation more effective for squat than you are for bench press and deadlift.
Yeah.
Think about it as emerging meditations, right? We talk about emerging strategies. The strategy is evolving based on the response of the lift, and each lift can respond to different things from a stimuli standpoint. Same thing with the meditation. So, like, don't be afraid to explore different applications and adjustments to those meditations in for your bench press and your deadlift.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm at right now with it. It's like, all right, I've come to realization that I figured out what works for my squat.
Yeah.
I am I'm getting it. I'll give you an update next week because I sent you an email this morning about a check-in, and I think I've got it almost on the deadlift and the bench. it's a work in progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a yeah, stay tuned on that. But I that's what I'm working on right now, trying to fine tune those setups and those. But it's the setup isn't just like, okay, my feet go here, my hands go here, my shoulders are here. It's how I'm approaching the bar, and it's how I'm breathing going into the lift. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're working progress, but it's cool. Exactly, merging strategies for training, and it applies to this too.
Yeah, man. That's fantastic. It definitely really sounds like there's a lot of good stuff that you've pulled from there, pulled from the experience, and are applying in your training with success, and are intentionally searching for other additional levers and levels of its application and what it can do for your other lifts. So I'm really excited, Zach, for all of that for you, and I really look forward to our continued efforts together. I want to be mindful of your time and let you go here today. I really appreciate you joining me. I appreciate your trust in me to guide and facilitate things for you. I'm really excited for what the future holds for you. Anybody that wants to reach out to you and engage with you on training and anything like that, how might they find you?
Yeah, I'm open book, so I'm you can give I have an Instagram. I don't post often, but I have it and I see it. So it's Morrow MORROWZ underscore HD. And then I can also leave my email, which is Morrow MORROW underscore 17 at hotmail.com. At the OG Hotmail. So those are the best ways, and I'm glad to talk to anyone. Like I mean, I'm learning in progress too, and I want to learn with people. And like I said, one of the biggest benefits of the intentional athlete was starting off by hearing other people's stories, and like cultivating the why, and that led to more like vulnerability and open to learning and trying different things, right? So it's always nice if I can help people, and hey, like helping someone out is another way to cultivate my why too, right?
Absolutely.
I told you the story of the one of the best things I ever got that it keeps me going is I was helping a neighbor, their daughter who's 14, going through their first meet, and she 9 for 9 killed. Great job. She's actually going for her second one in September, and we'll be doing going for the sub junior Alberta deadlift record, which is cool.
Oh yeah,
But
fantastic.
yeah, but so I'm still helping her through training, and she had written me a letter and said, before this, I hated so many things, hated a lot of parts about my life and stuff, and now I feel so grateful. This is one of the best things that I've done, and I love it. And to hear that from someone, especially at that age, is so mind blowing. And my day to day work, I work in elevators. You don't hear someone write you a letter about their elevator that way.
Yeah,
So it's a huge boost for me, but also it's like knowing that I've made a difference in someone's life, is is great, and I want to be able to help people whichever way I can. I'm no expert, but I'm a human who's been through it, uh, who trains, who has a family, and I've learned from yourself, and I continue to. So anyone who wants to reach out, by all means.
yeah, man, fantastic. I really appreciate it and excited to hear that you've had such a good experience with that lifter. Uh,
Yeah,
Um,
it's so cool.
definitely, definitely, I can relate. All right, man. I appreciate you. You have a good day.
You too, Ross.